Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com.
Welcome to the Habitat Podcast, the podcast for wildlife habitat management, hunting strategy, and land stewardship. And now, your host, Jared Van Hees.
Welcome to the Habitat Podcast.
I'm your host, Jared Van Hees, and we're here to become better habitat managers. Welcome back to the Habitat Podcast, y'all. I got another banging episode for you here today, guys. We have my friend, Mr. Nate Rozeveld. He is a young podcaster, father, business owner, another guy just like the rest of us trying to get it done. And he has some great success with his habitat work so far, but he's kind of on the newer end of the habitat side. He's been food plotting for a while, and he had me up there for a land plan. We've been friends for a while now, and it's a great conversation about deer hunting, deer camp, property, grandparents owning the farm, not wanting to do anything, coming down into working into the habitat side of things. All things habitat here at the Habitat Podcast. Another great episode here for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank, first of all of our Patreon members over there at the Habitat Podcast Patreon. I know y'all keep hearing me talk about that, but I have like 70 polos to catch up on. And I think I haven't looked since, 3 days ago. So we're talking habitat all day long, every day. If the podcast once a week is not enough habitat content for you, you need to join the Habitat Podcast Patreon group. Link in the show notes. Check it out. Or Google Habitat Podcast Patreon, Patreon. I just can't believe the wealth of knowledge in there. I learn something every day in this group. You know, none of us are experts, but we all know enough to teach each other and learn from each other. And it's an awesome group full of great guys. It's like deer camp, but habitat management all day, every day. So if you can't get enough, check it out. Really appreciate that. I do want to launch a brand new partnership, guys. We are partnered with Dieter Koken over at Face Off e-bikes. I will be picking up my e-bike here in about a week. It made it south of the bridge. They are all assembled in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. This guy puts together the best bikes on the market. If you're looking for a cheapo bike that might or may or may not climb a hill, may or may not, die on you, may or may not fall apart, this is not the e-bike for you. Face Off e-bikes are the best e-bikes that I've seen, that I've ridden. Andy's got one, my buddy Aaron has one, my buddy Kevin has one. I'll have mine very soon. We recorded a podcast with Dieter earlier this year, and I would urge you to go back and check that out. Just learn how an e-bike can help you on your property. We touch on that here in the podcast a little bit, but it's just, instead of walking through the woods like a two-legged predator, like deer are used to looking for us, if your access might be a little iffy, I'm going to rip by on a bike, and I will not leave any ground scent down behind me. So check them out. Face Off e-bikes online. We have more coming, more info coming. I just want to get the announcement out there right now. And as well as the rest of our partners, thank you all for supporting. Thank you to the listeners. Thank you for everybody leaving us great reviews on iTunes. Leave us a comment on Spotify. You can comment there. We're going to get that going. And our Habitat Day will be this August 9th here in Howell, Michigan. A lot of stuff coming. Let's get right to the podcast with Nate Rozeveld. Thanks, guys.
This podcast is brought to you by Latitude Outdoors. Guys, Latitude Outdoors is one of the top saddle hunting manufacturing companies in the world, here headquartered in Michigan. Guys, I've worked with Kevin, Alex, the guys over there at Latitude. I've been using their products for over 3 seasons here at Habitat Podcast. The first deer I shot was that first big buck on the 15 acres out of my Method 2 saddle. That buck, I shot him out of the saddle using the climbing sticks, the platform, everything to get up, and that saddle is just very versatile when selecting a tree. It's the first time I hunted that tree on the 15 acres. I climbed up that day and I was able to make the shot and a follow-up shot on that buck in that saddle. Guys, the saddle is so easy to use. You literally strap it on like like a seat belt, like a belt. It's all ropes. There's no metal components. There's no chinging and banging and clunking. I wrap it around, I step into it, I cinch it down, and I'm on my way out. I also use their carbon Speed Series climbing sticks. I got those brand new this year. I've been using those all over bow hunting and gun hunting, from public land to private. Very lightweight, easy to carry, stackable sticks. I ended up putting cell strips on mine and using daisy chains. They compact very well, hang out of the bottom of my pack. And when I'm wearing the Method 2 saddle, I can easily pick any tree in the woods and hunt. Guys, if you're looking for a way to outfit your property without spending $200 per stand, like I'm gonna do on the new 40, I'm gonna prep a bunch of saddle trees and keep the deer guessing on where I'm sitting. They will not know my true stand location because I will not have one. Guys, saddles are very versatile. I urge you to check them out. Latitude Outdoors. Again, I've been using them for years and they are great products. Latitude Outdoors, thank you for supporting the Habitat Podcast. Well, guys, that's the beautiful voice of my buddy Nate. Nate, why don't you give us a background on who you are, where you're from, kind of, how we met, how you grew up hunting, and your past family history, which I think is ultra rich and great to hear. So,
yeah, I'm Nate Rozeveld. I'm the host of the Michigan Wild Podcast. If anyone's heard my voice on that's where you're hearing it from. But yeah, it was, me and you, I guess we can start with our relationship. I think I just like cold called you, kind of was like, hey dude, like this vitalized seed stuff's awesome. Like, let's talk about it. And that's kind of what birthed our relationship. But hunting wise, I'm 35 years old. It was never a matter of if I was going to shoot a deer or if I was going to hunt. It was just a matter of how quick. Like back then I had to wait till I was 12 to, archery hunt and then 14 to gun hunt. But I was just, in today's time and age, I'd be probably killing deer at 4 or 5 years old. Like I was just that tore up with it as a kid. Pictures of me with no shirt on and just my undies shooting cereal boxes with a Fred Bear, the red Fred Bear recurve, tagging along my dad. I remember like one story. I was sick with a fever. It was during gun season, Thanksgiving-ish time. I had to stay home. My dad went up to Grandpa and Grandma's and he ended up shooting, like at the time it was his biggest buck. It was like probably a year and a half old 9-point, but it was a 9-point, right? And he got home and I saw the deer strapped to the top of his car and I was pissed because I wasn't there, and he still jokes around. I never let him live that down. I was very blessed to, my deer camp I was very blessed because my deer camp is family. Like we go see Grandpa and Grandma. Everyone hunts. My mom shot deer. Grandma never shot any deer, but never because she couldn't. It was just like, this is a family endeavor. So opening day is spent up north. You have a nice breakfast in the morning. You see, it's like essentially like Christmas for us, right? So blessed to have that. My grandpa did a dairy farm for many, many years. He's in his 80s now, but he still is out there planting. Like he plants all of his fields and someone else comes and harvests it. But just that's kind of my upbringing, like good property, lots of deer. My dad and uncle, they kind of got on the archery game really quick. Like they were kids and they had, Jay's Sporting Goods, like that used to be in a garage of someone's house or something. That's where they ended up getting their first bows and took my dad. I can't remember the guy's name, but someone did an archery class for my uncle and my dad both. And they were like one of the first couple guys that actually like hunted with a bow. Like it was a big deal in the 80s to do that in their area. And, my uncle shot a buck with his bow and he was like 12 and he was like all over the newspapers. It was a big deal, right? So like that's kind of like my upbringing was like, it's a hunting family, like this is what we're doing. And then that, like, I was pretty successful with a gun. I think maybe first or second year I shot a doe. And then it took me a little bit to kill a deer with a bow. Once I turned 16 and got access to some wheels, I actually, my first deer with a bow was on a knock on door permission piece when I was 16. So that kind of spurred, I hated having to drive an hour and a half to go hunting. And I was like, I'm going to hunt closer to home. And that kind of kicked that off as, 16-year-old kid and shot a doe with my bow. And then after that, it was just like, I started just slaying. Like it was like, I'd shoot multiple does in the first little bit of October and like, multiple kills and didn't always shoot 2 bucks, but I was pretty like lethal. Like if it walked in front of me, I was killing it, kind of a mindset. And then that morphed when I was probably like in my early 20s. I want to say like 21, 20-ish. I kind of was like, I guess the property that the prior land property is always a self-inflicted APR my uncle and my dad put on themselves. Like they were only going to shoot 8 points. So I had to have 4 on a side. Nothing about age class. Like back then they didn't know. This is probably like 2000. They did that. So I kind of like grew up in that a little bit. kids could shoot whatever they wanted, for the first deer. And then once I turned 20, I was like, I want to kind of like step it up a little bit. I would say I was 22. I think it was the year I got married. Yeah, it was the year I got married. So 2012, I got some permission pieces, started running trail cameras. Like it was probably like second year of really running trail cameras. Like, holy cow, there's actually like nice deer on camera. Picked a deer, thought it was a 3-year-old deer, shot it. It was not. It was a 2-year-old for sure. Like it was some major ground shrinkage. Just because, didn't really know what deer looked like. Like you're looking at a trail cam picture and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a Pope and Young buck all day long. And it was a beautiful basket rack 8-point. And shot him in the morning, early October, like really cool, coming to hit a scrape. Like it was like sweet. And then after that deer, I was like, okay, like I'm never going to do this again. Like I'm going to try really hard. I want to make sure I shoot what I think I'm going to shoot. And that started the challenge. I don't think I shot a buck with my bow for 5 years. 2017, I finally shot a really nice one. It's actually the one right over top of my shoulder there. And he was on that same property, actually, which was kind of cool. But that was the first deer that I shot that I was like, this is a 3 or 4-year-old buck. And like, it took me 5 years. There was a lot of heartache. There was a lot of big deer. There was, flinging some arrows with a recurve at some nice bucks. Like there was a whole bunch that went on in that 5 years. But that kind of like, that year was like, all right, kind of like, I like this. This is what I want to do. And then ever since then, it's just been like a roller, like not necessarily roller coaster, but just the ball's been rolling. Like deer are dying left and right. Like there's more deer to chase. Like it's been really good. I think that's some of the parts, right? Like I wasn't the only guy that had that mindset. Like in my area of West Michigan, a lot of the people were kind of like doing the same thing, especially when, we got this kid that knocks on the door and says, hey, I'd like to hunt here. No, we don't let hunters because I hunt. Well, then I was like, well, I'm only shooting deer that are this big. What do you think? And they're like, deer isn't anything bigger than 8 points back here. And then I'd be like, well, no, look at this picture. Like I did that for years without having much success. Like I wasn't filling tags and doing that. And I think then it was like once it took a couple of years and everyone kind of got on board, and fast forward to to right now, dude, there's some really nice bucks because I think just more guys are on board with passing deer and targeting deer, and they're putting in food plots and they're doing all these things. Like if we didn't have EHD, I'd be really pumped this year because I had some really nice, probably would have been one of my better years of like mature deer to hunt. EHD kind of did its thing, but it's still pretty cool to see that come full circle. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I started Michigan Wild like 2 years ago, but I love deer hunting. I love doing anything outside, and just try to challenge myself with targeting, a little higher age class deer throughout the state.
Heck yeah, buddy. Great explanation. And how old are you? What do you do for a job? Tell me about your entire family, kind of roll that into your family and maybe why your whole family was all, or we're all hunters. I think that's kind of more unique than not these days.
Yeah. So like I'm 35 years old. I am currently I'm a residential builder's license. So I've been in the construction game I've never been an employee. I've always been self-employed ever since I graduated high school. Shoot, my dad was making me work for him back in high school too. So, I mean, I was never an employee at all. So I've been doing that last like 3 years, 2.5 years. I've really kind of branched out on my own, kind of took a different path than what my dad was doing. So that's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but I don't know any different. So that does allow me to, hunt maybe a little more or do a podcast and do some of those things, allocate my time. There's days where you record a podcast, but then you're up till midnight because you're making up for that time, So that's what I do there. And then I think the biggest thing for like the hunting family part of it was like, my dad, uncle, and my grandpa, they had a dairy farm. So all that, and it wasn't big by any means. My grandpa, had around 100 cows, I think at the most he milked, which is good size, but not compared to some of the stuff nowadays. And they didn't have a lot of money growing up. So like you shot deer, like they ate venison. And and let me tell you what, the Rosevelds and those people in that area of the state where anyone knows where that is, all those farmers and all those hunters, they all know how to kill deer. Like, they're good at it. Like it's in the rifle zone. They hunt hard. They're good shots. Like not much slips through the cracks because it's pretty much every corner's covered kind of a thing. And that was that way for a really, really long time. So then when my dad my dad lost jobs because he was like, I'm hunting November 15th, no matter what, and he's like, sorry, if you don't like it, you can fire me kind of a thing when he was in his early 20s. So that was how serious they were. Like they hunted. And then when he met my mom, it was kind of like her family was also a hunting family. So like her side of the family, they did the traditional deer camp. Like they would go camp for opening day, and they had bow camps, and that was kind of like a deer camp vibe. And it was no does, like that was bucks only. Like there's no does at deer camp. So I think she kind of probably always had the desire to do it. And then when she started dating my dad, then they got married kind of young. He's like, well, I'm hunting. And she's like, well, I'm going with you. And then everyone was cool with it. So she shot deer when she was like, I think she was pregnant with my sister when she shot a deer. There's a funny story about her falling in a creek while she was pretty pregnant. You know, like this has just like been a thing. Like this is just what we did. So I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and I got 3 sisters, and they all hunt as well. Man, my sisters are killers. Like they can just shut that off. And when they have a gun in their hands, like, phew, you better watch out if you step out in front of them. So that's just kind of, I didn't know any different. Like that was just what we did. And Thanksgiving is a time where we, you know, all the siblings, we all go to grandpa and grandma's, and that's usually when we all hunt together is around Thanksgiving, because not everyone can get the 15th of November off. So yeah, I didn't really know any different. Like girls hunt too. And my wife, same thing. When I started dating her, she never hunted before, but was not opposed to it, and took her out, and she shot a couple deer when we were dating, and like she's all about that too. So I mean, it's kind of just been the way it has been for the Rosevelds, I guess.
Oh man, that's really cool. That makes sense with your mom's family too. Then you guys coming together, how just literally in your blood it is. You know, like my wife, she never hunted, her family never hunted. You know, I got her first year in college, and her dad always teases her. He's like, yeah, you were wearing your Tiffany earrings and you're holding that big doe up, you know, like it's just all this is different, right? So
yeah,
it's cool to hear, you know, kind of, in my opinion, what it used to be like for probably a lot more people.
Yeah, dude, I remember my sister. So Josie, my sister, she's she's my middle sister, I guess. I think I'm like 7 years older than her, or 6 years older than her. Her first deer, she was sitting on my lap while she shot it as a kid, because you know, so many kids, like my other siblings were with my dad, you know, so I was like, hey, you're 18, take your sister out. And I did, and we got to share that experience, you know, together, and the blind, and she did that. Like that was just like, that's just what you did, right? Like you sat with each other, you sit all day, you make grilled cheese and the blinds. We always built nice blinds to sit in, like you sit in field edges, and we're hard on does, man. We are hard on them with guns in our hands. So, but yeah, I think it's a pretty cool thing. And then to bring my wife into it too, like she even shot a deer with her bow when she was in her early 20s, which looking back, like that was pretty cool, you know, that she did that. So, but yeah, it's gosh, I freaking love it. Like I want my little guy to kind of experience that. Man, he's been coming along with me since he was little, and he's shot a couple deer now, and he's 9 years old. And it's like, now it's in the point now where we got some cousins that are interested, and you try to get them out. And like, dude, it's just like, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like that to me is, I could have an Iowa tag in my pocket and I could go bow hunt in November. But guess what? November 15th, I'm not going to be in Iowa. I'm going to be in Michigan. Like that's just kind of like how important that is to me. I've only missed it one time, and that was when I had COVID so bad that I was on the couch for like 12 straight days. Me and my dad both missed November 15th. That's the only time I can ever remember my dad not hunting November 15th or me. So like it means more than just the antlers or the killing. It's just going to feel weird if we don't do it. Like it's just something's wrong.
Oh man.
You know?
I couldn't agree more. I think I don't know if I've ever missed an opening day as well. I've missed deer camp before when I was in college and had the young kids, but I remember my dad would drive from Grand Haven up to CMU, pick me up, and we'd drive over to the hunting property in Fremont and hunt just for, I had one class I had to be at that morning, so maybe I got there for the evening or whatever it was. But yeah, I don't miss it either. I know like out of state hunting, mid-November is probably the best time to be in Ohio, Iowa, some of these spots. Like you, I'll be home every single time.
Yep.
Every single time.
Yep. I'll cut a day short just so I can, have that experience. And even if I don't have like the last couple of years, it hasn't been for me. That's been for me and Henry, right? Like I'm sitting with him trying to get him a deer. So there's so much more. And it's like, it's fun to do that. Cause like every year, that time of year, it's like a perfect reset. You just bow hunted really hard, or maybe you're coming back from being out of state. And it's like, hey, I'm doing this for more than just the mounts or more than a picture on social media. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, so how do you kind of shift gears into having interest in habitat and habitat management? Like what triggered that? And I may have asked you this before, but I'm not recalling the answer.
Yeah, so for me, I think it was me and my dad always kind of dabbled with some stuff like trying to do food plots. but that's always been stuff like downstate, Grappa Farms. So like every piece of open ground that needs to be used for cows or, livelihood stuff, right? Which I think is very understandable. I mean, that's what he bought it for. That's, his thing. And as like we morphed or like as we learned how to like target older age class deer and like starting to understand like we're takers, like big time takers. And I think kind of like me and dad were like, there's more to this than just like playing the food plot or leaving up a acre of corn. Like we can do better. And then that's kind of what like, and we struggled. Like we struggled trying to find certain food plot mixes that worked for us in the time frames that we had. Cause like, let's be honest, in construction, like when you need to be doing food plot stuff, like that's our busy time. Like we are working big days and don't have a lot of time. So that was kind of like, and then the desire I don't own any property myself. Like my grandpa's got property, my in-laws got some property, but like they're all farmed. So like I have very limited. So like I've taken the approach that like, I feel like the closer I get to 40 years old, like I'm going to have something. So like I'm starting now, like right. Like I'm learning, I'm absorbing as much as I can. And then I'm trying to take a different food plot strategy. Like, hey, can I build up this piece of ground that is unsuitable for farming because the soil might suck or the terrain might suck, but can I use this for deer? So that's kind of what I've been doing for the past like 5 years is like the leftovers, the inside corners, the BS. Like I've been trying to convert those into like, good food sources. And man, dude, it's worked great. Like I've had some really good success with that.
Yeah, I remember when we first started talking, that's what they were. They were inside corners. They were leftover. They were stuff that you were putting in food plots, and that's how we started talking. And I remember just a lot of deer. You were having pretty good success, but I think your deer were probably hammering whatever you planted.
Oh yeah. Right? Oh yeah, dude. The first year I did, well, it was like a perfect storm, right? Like you guys came out with Vitalized Seed and I'd heard about it. I think I got on either like the following year. I can't remember when you guys launched, but I know the first thing I had was Carbon Load. And that year it was wheat. One of my really good spots was wheat. So it got harvested in July. And guess where I was? Rotor-tilling in a food plot, baby. So like I had that whole thing and I put in I put in multiple plots, but like one property had 2 acres of food plot. And it was like, like that's how it felt. Like it was like dinner bells ringing all the time. I mean, had some great hunts. I shot 2 bucks that year with my bow. I was tagged out by, I think it was November 9th or something.
Wow.
It was just fantastic. And seeing like, there's a lot of deer. Like I don't have 100 deer, but I mean, like I have like upwards of 20 to 30 deer. And dude, seeing how well that handled the browse. And so then I was like, that was fantastic. And then go the next year and I can't do that again. And I'm like super depressed. I mean, everyone knows that, listen, I had a 200-inch buck that I was chasing last year. And I was like super depressed because I couldn't do the food plot again that way. And I just like listen to a lot of your podcasts, a lot of other guys talking about it. I'm like, well, I'm going to really do what I used to do, but use it with the Carbon Load or the Nitro Boost to get the stuff going. And man, it works so good. I had so many trail cam pictures of that buck in September, and these like tiny little, like you said, BS leftover sections. And he ended up getting killed by the neighbor. But anyways, I mean, I hunted those. I was targeting another deer so I hunted like that area, that farm, from October 1st to January 31st. And I was always in proximity to some of those plots. And I sat that plot actually a lot. I shot like 3 or 4 does out of it. I had a really nice buck that was in there all the time that just was broken, so I didn't shoot him. I mean, the amount of deer activity in this 1/4 acre or less spot was just phenomenal, and I loved it. And it's kind of cool. Like I knew where to locate that plot because of all the things that like you guys talk about. Where's the stem count? Where do big deer feel safe coming through? It's like there's literally from bed to this plot, they can go through this terrain feature, and it's just like BS raspberries and like low stuff and just like thick and a little bit of terrain, and it's like boom, this little micro plot right there. Dude, they felt super safe coming into it. So it's almost like I kind of got to do habitat stuff, but it was more of like my habitat's like thinking more of like, where do they want to be? Can I get something in close proximity, paired with a mock scrape or something, and then the correct access. And dude, weed eater, rake, and sweat is all I used to make those, and it worked, and it was super nice.
I like that. That's a good example of what people can do who don't have a lot of equipment at that place or even at all.
And then, or maybe aren't allowed to work in
Yes.
huge plots or do timber work at some of these permission pieces, right? So you were still able to take advantage of whatever you could do, went in there, put the sweat equity in, a 200-inch Michigan buck showing up. That's insane.
And dude, I did it in beans too. So like there was standing beans, and I waited until like they got to the point where their like leaves weren't like fully, shading
Starting
out.
to yellow. Yep.
Yes, and I went in there and I literally raked in between the rows of beans. I made like my plot was probably like, I think it was like 20 yards wide, maybe 25 yards wide by like 35 yards deep. And I could sit like in one of the corners in a tree, and like it was an inside corner. And like there was a bunch of grass that grew up on the edge. Well, when they sprayed for the beans, they killed all that. So all I did was I like weed eated all that down, raked it off to the side in piles, turned the dirt up, did the carbon load, and threw out all that. Like, because I wanted this plot to be like a good size, but I didn't want it to be too big. I was like, essentially, if a deer steps into it, like it's in range, like I'm going to shoot it.
Yeah.
And all with intentions of killing that deer in it. And I did that, and it worked. Like I had, once the beans were harvested, it was like the carbon load was already in there growing, and it was just like poof, it blew up. And yeah, I had videos of like 20 deer in that at one time. Like it was unreal. And like I'm just like zapping does with my bow, in there. It was awesome. But yeah, that was, and then so like this is how simple it was. I weed eated all the weeds down. I had a hand rake. I disturbed all the soil, went into the bean rows in between. And then I, just used a little earthway spin broadcaster, spread it all out. I did kind of a heavy coat of it because I was like, it was a little later and there's a lot of turkeys and stuff. And then I re-raked it. And then I took all that dead grass that I weed eated and I spread it out like straw on top of it right before it rained. And dude, it was like, it worked great. Like even in the spring, and there was still like, I went out there after season, we went shed hunting, and there was 15 deer in that thing in like March. I'm like, how is this still possible? But there was just enough in there that it really opened my eyes that I don't need a 1 acre plot to be successful,
Well said. Well said. I like how you laid the grass back over top, like I always talk about the straw on the side of the highway type deal when they're trying to prevent erosion. Same deal, just holding moisture. And anytime that we get a little bit of sunlight, that carbon load's photosynthesizing and sprouting up a little bit, just enough to keep them coming back. So, okay, so you went through the food plot stage, which is kind of where everybody starts. Not everybody, but most people, including myself, with a rake. Same deal. Then kind of what happened? I know we ended up meeting with you and your dad, and things are getting serious now.
Yeah, that property that I grew up hunting, and the family, my grandpa's property up north, we have finally got clearance to do some habitat work on it. And it's been years in the making, right? Like a desire's been there, but it's been trying to talk to grandpa and say, hey, this is what we want to do. No, it's not going to ruin your deer hunting. No, it's going to be good. Like, here's all these things. And, thankfully relationship was built with you where we could have someone like you come by, and it's like, hey, this guy's saying it and he does this a lot. And I think that really helped. And then got the right kind of a logger in there, smaller outfit. And yeah, trees started coming down. So there was some setbacks. Like I always laugh when you say, hey, get them in there sooner than later, because stuff happens, and stuff happened this winter. So we didn't get as much done as we had hoped to, but hey, we're working the step in the right direction. And spring plots are, hopefully, we just got a bunch of rain. So I was trying to spray before I did some stuff, because grandpa got some grant to do like switchgrass, like perimeter somewhere, like a few acres. So like, we got to kill all that stuff, which is like, I couldn't believe it when he said it. He's like, yeah, I got this. I was kind of looking into it and I got a grant for that. And we're like, really? So he's actually given up some tillable to, get that. So I'm like, holy cow, it can happen, So, but we got to do some spraying. Then we're going to be throwing a whole bunch of Nitro Boost in the ground over there. I want to say we'll probably end up doing like close to like 5 acres probably on that property, which will be really nice. Some of that's going to be used for screening. It's going to stay up all year, which I did that too last year. And that was, man, like I said, I did the micro plots by hand, but then I also have access to some other bigger plots that we can, do more conventional style. And man, that was the first year I did the 1-2 system completely. And dude, great success with that too. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. So get to do the plots, and then the trees are coming down. And then when we go kind of assess I kind of got to see exactly what we got going on, but we're probably going to go through, and this summer we're going to be doing a little bit more, maybe get some equipment in there, and kind of like we talked about some access stuff that we want to do, kind of do that kind of thing. So yeah, it's so much fun to know that I have the opportunity to improve this in a way that we've been dreaming of for years. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I cannot wait to plant switchgrass with my Downburst Cedar. The DSA 60 drop cedar from Doug over at Downburst is an awesome unit. I planted all my food plots with it last year, and I will be planting my switchgrass with it this year. Switchgrass seed is extremely expensive, and I need to dial in exactly how much I put down for my screening I'm gonna do by the road, around the food plots, and I can dial in an exact amount of seed with the Downburst Cedar DS 860. Guys, check them out, downburstcedars.com. Tell them I sent you. Doug is the man there over at Downburst. That's so amazing. I think, matter of fact, I met with my NRCS agent today at the 40. I don't have any tillable to work into a waterway program or some sort of quail habitat or anything that your grandpa might have found, but that's amazing. That's huge, and that's free. So that's awesome. I want to hear kind of about the logger story. I kind of want to hear about that because I feel like I should write a book on logging stories, and that might be my first book ever. But if I ever do it, but I want to hear about the setbacks and where you're at today with the progress. Because I was out there, last spring? So,
yeah, I think it was.
You had the winter so it's kind of catch us up there.
Yeah. So the biggest concern that my grandpa had was who's going to cut it? What's it going to look like? So like, he did not want like a big operation. Like,
that's a normal concern. That is everybody's concern.
And to be honest, me and Dad were like, we don't care. Like, we'll find whoever. And I happened to meet a gentleman. He's awesome. His name's Colton. Just met him. He had a property for sale that I went and looked at to possibly buy, and started shooting the breeze, and it's like, he does this. And I was like, oh dude, this is perfect. He's a 1-2 man operation. He does this kind of wintertime thing. And, so we got to talking, and he knew the area and like knew my grandpa. So like that really helped. And then it was, he made some judgment calls on what properties to do first and second. And the thought process was, well, I'll do this little job first, get that just, check the box, and then I'll have the rest of the time to do yours. And we're like, hey, dude, you're like, this is your call. Like, you go for it. Like, we trust you. Well, if equipment doesn't fail, that was probably a pretty good plan. But the winter that we end up getting, and then stuff breaking, right? Like, that's just, if you do any kind of thing with equipment, like, it's awesome when it works, but you just got to be prepared for bad stuff to happen. You end up blowing like a transmission on a skidder, which that was close to $20,000 to fix that. And then he had a bunch of other things break. So it's like pretty much he got like, then he tried getting through a spot that was wet because we got, the winter that we had, there was so much snow. I think it kind of insulated a little bit. And that property, like there's some wet spots. Yep. Well, he ended up burying the thing really bad in the spot that he thought he was good, but it never froze all the way. So, just like, and when you're a smaller operation, it don't take much. You can't really bounce back from that. So he got some done. He did. I feel like for the amount of time he was actually able to be there and do it, he did really good. And then the plan is just like, planting season's here, let that come down. And then as soon as deer season's done, we're number one on the list for, January. So I'm kind of excited to see that, and kind of maybe think if there's anything else you want to do. But yeah, like to be honest, I haven't laid eyes on it because I was not necessarily because I don't want to, but it was just like the busyness of my life was like, hey, I don't got time to make extra trips. So like when we go here, we're going to do the spring plots. We're going to do the stuff we want to do. Obviously have some chainsaws with us when we go there, maybe kind of supplement a little bit to what was already started. And yeah, that's kind of our summer, hopefully. But you can have great ideas, but man, dude, making time for it that's our next challenge. Me and my dad were just laughing about that. It's like, hey, we can finally do it. Here we are. Oh yeah, we should have time to do this. This year's shaping up to be pretty good. And that was, May 1st, that schedule was blown up. So, but
I hear you. So did he get any logging done?
Yes.
Or some of it? Okay,
yep. So there was progress. Yes, correct. Okay, so he's not done by any means. So
that's faster than some of my guys' work. So that's great. I think that your place is set up to where you have that big swamp in the middle. You're cutting in the woods. And then the native grass is going in. You're gonna have a lot of good cover there. Already a bunch of deer, but like a good place to. Like I said, if that place ever goes for sale, I want to be the first guy you call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's one cool thing about your property that I've told you before a couple of times, but remember that backfield we were walking across, a little bit dewy. And I don't know, it's a pretty big field, but we walked like the short ways across it once or twice. I've never had my boots look like the back of my truck when my dog gets out of it.
Yep.
Like they were covered in deer hair. And I was like, oh wow, boys, you guys got some deer around here. And I thought that, but that's the most I've ever had stick to my boots walking at a place. And while they can be good and bad for habitat and sustainability, etc., I think it's cool that you guys are shooting does and their bucks are there too. So it's only going to get better from here on out.
Yeah, I think it's like, and you can see like why I say I'm blessed. Like that's a really nice property that I've been able to hunt my whole life. Like that's so like for me to have that, seeing what other people go through and stuff, I was like, man, I'm really happy that it's not the best property in Michigan by any means, but it's a good property. Like I think any deer hunter would be like, oh yeah, that's a good spot. Like you see deer, you can shoot deer. We haven't killed a lot of bucks there the last few years, but we're just trying to do something special there. But I think the biggest thing is we have a good amount of deer, but they feel so safe on those properties. The way that the terrain is and the way that how that lays out, it's like they have everything they really need per se from like a safety perspective. The only downside is once the summertime is done and the food comes off, there's not a lot of stem count there, right? There's a swamp, but there's not, it's lacking that woody browse. So cutting trees and like adding that to the mix, I feel like is going to really hold the deer there, more. Brian Myrie, man, he shot a buck a couple of years ago that I was all over, and that buck just never really stayed there very long. You know why? Because he moved on as soon as the crops came down. He went down the road a little ways because that was where like the grassy stuff was. That was where the, these like little drainage ditches and like those big bucks, man, they like that side cover. And once the corn comes down and they just have woods, there's not as much side cover. They'll move a little more. So like selfishly, we're looking forward to giving them everything they need so they can just kind of hang out on our property opposed to moving. They can move at night, but we want to keep them in daylight. So that's what we're kind of shooting for.
Perfect. I always say you got to have everything your neighbors have and more, right? So if your neighbor had all the rest of the good habitat and the food and you guys didn't, well, the buck's going to move on or go hang out there during the rut or whatever. So I think it was also cool when we were there, kind of your grandpa's spot. That's kind of his spot, right? So working on fine tuning that a little bit without disrupting him too much. And then right over around the corner from his spot was that buck bed we found. Remember over the hill towards I guess it'd be the south side.
Yeah.
We found right where he beds, a couple different beds there, some rubs, and it's right kind of by your access to the back where you and your dad hunt or your dad hunts.
Yeah.
And it's cool to be able to kind of walk that with you guys and just see these different things and help formulate the plan. So I had a good time that day. That was a great time.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, dude, that spot, they had to lay it out for everyone. Like there's a big swamp kind of in the middle, right? There's moving water.
Yeah, we should lay this out. I forgot to say that. We should definitely lay this out.
Yeah. So like essentially we have a paved road on what would be the east line, right? And then there's really no other access. I mean, the next closest road to the west is probably like, I don't know, maybe a mile. No, it's probably 2 miles. I can't even think how far that is. There's a good distance and there's like a lot of cover right there. But yeah, the front of the property is like the tillable, the majority. And I say it's about 20 acres probably of tillable or thereabouts. And then once you get to the woods, and there's woods on the side, which we walk by. And I remember telling you, I was like, I know there's deer in here because I see rubs and I see tracks, but like we have to like, I don't know how to walk by them without, ruining it. And we walked there. And so we have like kind of like there's like an L of cover, right, that goes around this. And then the neighbors got cover right up next to it. And then once you get into the woods, you go a little ways, and it's like, boom, swamp. And there's a huge swamp. And we don't own the whole swamp, but we own a good chunk of it. But there's like a ridge top that kind of like goes around the swamp. And that goes like the backfill you're talking about, which would be the northwest line. And it's a skinny, let's say 60 yards wide, 300 yards long, or 250 yards long little field back there. And we got a guy, my dad hunts back there. My grandpa hunts over this look in the swamp. And then I maybe hunt in the front or siblings on the front. Uncle hunts in the front, depending on what's going on. And I've bow hunted a few times, and I was like, Jared, I shot a buck right here one time, October 4th in the morning. And I was like, you'll walk in here, you'll know exactly why. And you walked in, you're like, yep, I need to go find the buck bed. And you're like walking around like, yep, here he is right here. And I'm like, yep. And I shot that buck 30 yards from that, So like, it was pretty cool to see you go through there. But yeah, there's essentially a ridge that kind of works through the property, that them dude bucks just something about betting on those points and those overlooking spots. They love doing it. And the downside to our property is we have to walk right by them to get in there. So it's with Grandpa, it's fine because he gun hunts. So like there's a lot of trucks that drive back in there to drop him off, or golf carts. And he still shoots deer. So like, I mean, we don't complain. Like we still see deer and shoot them, but we're really looking forward to kind of tweaking access a little bit to kind of, give the bucks that space that they need, and then we can still hunt it consecutive days,
I like it. You ever thought about doing anything like an e-bike or anything to where you're not walking as a two-legged predator type deal?
Yeah, something about them stealth e-bikes I keep hearing about, like I think.
Oh yeah, well, now
face off,
they're called face off.
Face off, my bad. Those face off bikes. Yes, I have definitely been trying to justify a purchase for that. But I think that would be doing this. We've never done screens. We've never left, when the corn, I think that'll help a lot. When the corn's up, like we can't walk through the middle of the corn. Like it's only been corn like 3 times in 30 years. So, I mean, you're usually walking across the alfalfa field or something. So I think just screening and using some of those tools here in the next couple of years is going to be like, I hate to use the word game changer, but like, I don't know why it wouldn't be. Like we can slip in and slip out and be good to go.
It's just little details, like leaving your cabin or the camp area and walking the edge of that field by the woods you talk about where the deer always were. Just going out into the field 10, 12, 15 feet in some grass and walking that versus the edge of the woods. That just a little detail about where you walk, which you never think about because you walk the same way for 20 years, 30 years. It's just little stuff like that sometimes being able to look at it, objectively helps. But I think the screening on your place is going to be gigantic. The timber work you're doing is going to be gigantic. Say you get all your food plots in spring and fall, loggers coming back. What's the third thing on your list? And you're like, man, I'm doing that like ASAP. And you think about that yet?
As in like once the logger comes back, this if we fast forward a year.
Yeah.
Edge feathering. Like that is going to be one. You brought that up, and my dad would say probably trees because he wants to plant that little orchard kind of style, like we talked about. For me, I'm like, that's good, but like I want edge. Like I want good edge because that's what I hunt already. Like I haven't been able to like manipulate stuff. So like I'm always seeking like that type of edge. And when we have a swamp edge internal, and then we have a field edge external. So like for me, I'm like, dude, if I really tweak these edges by making it like a soft edge or feathering, I think is the word you had used, and then I can hunt off that, like give those bucks an ability to expose themselves but not be exposed. They don't feel like they're exposed, but they're exposed, and I can lay eyes on them so they don't, because like I think that property, the way it lays out, you probably agree with me a little bit, they can cover a lot of that with their nose. Like they don't have to come out. Like they can be out of sight, out of mind kind of a thing, do their thing. I've seen it while bow hunting there because, bow hunting, I only hunt it probably 2 to 4 times a year. Bow hunting, I've seen big mature bucks do it. And it's like, son of a gun, he had the wind in his favor and he just checked every deer, because like I don't always hunt the edges. I'll be in the woods on a ridge or something, and I'll watch them bucks like come up, and you're like trying to guess which one they're going to be on that night or that morning. And they'll do this big little semi loop. And it's like, yep, I watched all those does move into there. He goes and you see him go there. Then all of a sudden you catch him leaving. It's like, he never stepped out. He just checked them with his nose. So I'm trying to, that's something I'm really excited to try to do, is like create those little highways with like terrain and like edge feathering, I guess. And I guess for me, my thought is how I might hinge trees or how I might cut some trees down and, have some. I was just talking to Matt Zoll. Actually, we did a podcast yesterday, and he's talking about how thick his properties are, and he's creating like structure in that to like dictate movement. And I'm like, yes, that is exactly what I need. Like I need to help with that a little bit. So that's pretty high on my list.
Yeah, I like that. Like the logger goes in, does all the macro work, right? Makes a mess, gets the sunlight to the floor. And then you go in and do the detail work, the fun work, which is less dangerous and less work, and create these spots where you can set up, add the mock scrape, the whole deal.
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna do very well out there, man. You and your dad both, your grandpa as well. I'm looking forward to it, just seeing the results on that place.
Yeah, dude, like if you can have, like, what's the struggle a lot of guys may have? They're trying to buy a property. Like that's the thing I'm always like, I'm looking at like, yeah, there's an 80 for sale, or there's a 20 for sale, there's a 30 for sale. And you pull up Onyx or whatever mapping you're using, and you're like looking like, okay, it looks like it's in a good neighborhood, but like you don't really know. So like I feel very fortunate this property. We know there's deer there. Like that's a very important thing. Or you've talked about it. Like you have property that doesn't have high deer density. So like you got to get food in there. You got to do all this really big swing for the fence thing. We can kind of like our big swing is just get trees cut. And then once that happens, we can do, like you said, a lot less, it doesn't seem as overwhelming once that's done, right? Like once that's handled, like the big brunt force of it, then it's like we can now find two because we have deer and we already have open ground. So like those are two big wins for that.
I know. I was walking my 40 this morning before the NRCS gal got there with a guy who's got some bigger equipment than me, because my mulcher guy is kind of fizzling out, and imagine that. And
surprise.
It's like I have nothing but woods, on both properties. 70 now, I have like 5 acres that we've ripped every stump out of there, and that's ready to go. So I'm doing the same thing down here. It's like to be able to have something like yours where it's so diverse. I mean, you field, then you have the rest is woods, and there's a big swamp. Like that's so different. And probably costs more if you were to just buy that. If you're trying to just buy some ground, like nobody wants to just a piece of woods you have to do a bunch of work to, unless you're going to build a house or something,
Dude, I couldn't afford, like if there was another piece of property just like that for sale, there's no way I could touch it. Like,
yeah, I don't think I could either.
It's just, they just go for, you see what those properties go for, because I don't know why. I don't know. I feel like Michigan's got a lot of good cover, but I feel like a lot of the cover is already split up in these little pockets already. It's not like you can just be like, oh yeah, cool, I got all this. It's like, no, that awesome chunk of cover is owned by 10 different people. So I think that kind of like, so then when the one guy's like, I'm selling, all the people around are like, yes, we can add to ours, or, and they'll overpay for stuff like that. So it's much more like buying property and stuff. Like when I was younger, I thought, oh yeah, once I get a job making X amount of money, shoot, I'll be able to buy something. Like no problem. Dude, that is like, there is so much more that goes into that. And I mean, some guys are really good at it and have like a lot of different mindset, but for like me, who I feel like is just a normal, hardworking guy, it's kind of overwhelming a little bit. And but I'm fortunate that I have that property that I can kind of scratch that itch until something else pops up.
Okay, so let's talk about your land journey a little bit. You said you maybe by 40 like to have something. What's that look like for you so far? What have you been doing? Have you found not so much a budget, but the size of a property that you think is going to be the right fit? Anything down that road that you've experienced so far?
So for like 2 years, I've been like really looking, and I have been trying to find a property that I can buy before it goes on the market. And when you're dealing with like these farming communities that, most of those properties are lifers, right? Like they stay in the family forever. So nothing really comes on the market. So I was trying really hard to get a couple properties that I have known about, or, hear through the grapevine that may become available, and just been striking out hard. So that was kind of a downer a little bit. I think me and my wife kind of had to like realize like, hey, we're not going to be able to probably get our dream property to build on. Cause I was always like, hey, I would like to have like 40-ish acres so I can put a house on it and still do a lot of this stuff. And, being a builder, I can walk a property and know where I can set a house. And that was kind of another problem. Like you'd see a property, it's like, well, yeah, there's like really no good spot to put a house. Like this isn't going to work. Or like where the house needs to be is going to be like, cool, we got this property, but like our house is smack dab in the middle of it, because that's our only real good option. So I'm probably a little more picky than I need to be, but like this is what I do for a profession, so I might as well be picky, right? So like we kind of like are at the point now where I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, and we kind of got to move a little quicker than what seems our timeline is. So we've kind of scaled it back. Like, let's try to find 5 to 7 acres, and just kind of do the house stuff. Like, right, like have our house, have a barn, have some animals, because we both like grew up with animals, and our parents have animals, and hobby farms kind of a thing. And so I think that's kind of where we're at now. It's like, hey, let's try to find something. I think we kind of got something in the works, but who knows? Build a house, do that. Save some of that money that we were going to use to buy the bigger property, and then maybe be able to find more of that rugged property that's in proximity that we can like I was trying to find something that didn't need a ton of work, like, you know, because like that's what we just were talking about. Like, hey, this has diversity already. I think what's going to happen is get the house built, and then I'm going to have to try to find like that same size, like maybe 35, maybe 30 acres minimum, and then maybe find like I've seen some 80s that have intrigued me, but like the building the house on them is like the problem. So maybe once the house thing gets taken care of in the next couple of years, then I can really go hard. Like I said, in 5 years when I'm 40, that's when I can pull the trigger on something a little bit bigger. And that can be like, this is just a hunting property, or maybe it becomes a camp, you know, kind of thing. I don't know. But it seems like that's what I've been noticing. Like the properties that are really wet, that maybe have like, you know, swampy ground, they're low land, they got no open fields. Those seem to be a little bit more in striking distance from price point. But like I can't build a house on them. No. So then, but if I just got to go in there and manage for wildlife, that's like, hey, I'll take that. Cause I know I've shot some really nice deer when their feet are wet. So I'm not too scared about that part.
Well, and a good point to kind of expound on what you're saying. Like you might buy the 40, think your life savings into it and then some, and then the neighbor sucks.
Yes.
Or whatever. And if you just built a beautiful house there and everything else, like I wish I had all of it in one spot too, but like it's the chances are probably more slim to have that happen than, you know, like Matt lives on his property, and which is amazing. He's out there working 4 times as much as I am because it's in his backyard. You get home from work, buzz out there.
Yep.
We're talking about Matt from HP here over in West Michigan. And I wish I had that. But at the same time, you know, if the neighbors end up getting some match with them, they're trespassing or whatever, and then you got to make an exit, you can still do that on a different piece. So as nice as it might sound, it might not always be for the best fit.
Yeah, and you nailed the nail on the head there. Like I don't want to like go full in on something and be like, son of a gun, like this is not what I thought. And even Matt, like I said, the podcast is, I don't know when this will launch, but you know, first week of June is when that one launches. But
awesome.
He was saying like he kind of like went on a whim. Like he had no idea, not until he was building his house did he like realize how cool the neighbors were. And he will tell you, like, the reason why his hunting is good is because he's got awesome neighbors. And I will stand on a hill and pound my fist. Like, that's the only reason why I have success is because I have some awesome neighbors. And that's you have the less control on that, right? Like, so yeah, you gotta, it's just like, I can't, with the family situation, trying to find a house, and we do have to move for work stuff, but it's like, okay, I gotta, like, expectations are gotta be reset. But who knows, if that 40 could come for sale too anytime, and you can jump on it. So, but yeah, I want to have an exit strategy if the neighbors do. In not saying the neighbors suck, they may just don't have the same goals I have, right? Like that's, I'm not trying to say everyone's got to be just like me, or I've never heard you say that either. But we're just a dynamic that we like to have, how we hunt, what we like. We want to be surrounded by those type of people, which is a blessing and a curse because they're good hunters, and you might not always shoot that buck you want to shoot, but guess what? There's a deer there because everyone's on the same page and we can all have fun. And at the end of the day, that's all we're doing this is just a hobby, man. We're having a good time, and we want to it's a lifestyle that we want to live. And I can't wait. Like it feels like it's so close, like something they've been working so hard for, but I'm yet so far. But I know if you just stick the course and, you know, make good decisions and work hard, that it'll happen. And then I got to remind myself when it does happen to enjoy it. Cause I'm like that guy that's like, oh, check that box. What's the next box? You know, and we've talked about this too with businesses and stuff. You're like, always going. It's like, hey, slow down. Like, dude, you are doing successful food plots. Not that long ago, everything you tried to do failed miserably because you didn't do something right, or the deer torched it before October 1st, or you miscalculated something, or and now it's like, holy cow, I actually am feeding deer, turkeys, all this stuff all year long. Like, that's so cool. Like, enjoy that moment. And it's hard, man, when you're driven and you want to do these things. It's like, you got to really just like, it's okay. Like, you're doing good, baby steps, like, get through there. And like, I didn't come from anything really. Like, I never got money from anyone. My dad's helped me a lot with work stuff, but I don't have like a family that's loaded that can be like, oh, hey, it could be my bank or anything like that. Like, this is all got to be on my shoulders, my wife's shoulders. And, but it's cool because that will hopefully lead to like the same thing for many generations down the line, right? Like, it takes a lot of sacrifice to get there. And yeah, we don't go on cool vacations. We don't, I've never been to a resort or anything like that really. So, I mean, we're just grinding it out, man. And I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah. I like your thought there. And like you said, we talked about this, and just a good reminder though, to take a breath, relax, realize your kids are having fun, and say an extra prayer for how blessed we are. And it's just, that's a great reminder. I needed that this week. I appreciate that.
It's okay to coach your kids in sports. Like that's another thing too.
Oh
like,
God, that's all I do, and I don't know anything about coaching. But
yeah, I've never played this freaking round or minute of soccer in my entire life, but I am a freaking awesome soccer coach. Like like that's how I look at it. Like, and I'm like, there's days where I'm watching YouTube videos on how to coach 10U soccer instead of like watching hunting stuff, because that's important. And I got this moment in time, and gosh, I freaking love it. My turkey hunting has took a big hit. My spring scouting takes a big hit. My food plot season's shorter because I'm doing it, but guess what? It's freaking awesome. And I encourage everyone to do it. And I think being that good and that present in my day-to-day with my family makes hunting that much better in the fall, because it's like, hey, I was there. Like I'm willing to do these things. Now, don't get me wrong. There's times where it's like, yeah, Nate's gone. Like, sorry. Like I'm going to miss that thing because, that's November 3rd and I'm in Iowa or I'm in Kansas or whatever it may be. But I do know that when it's right now, right? Like right now I'm coaching, like I'm doing these things. So it's fun, but you get out of the season, it's like, like, did I do enough? Did I do this? But it's like, you got to constantly check yourself. And it's like this freaking cycle. I'm like, I don't know if I'm sick for it or what, but it's like, every year I'm like, I'm more fired up for this year than I was last. You say that stuff, but it's been a good learning experience.
It's a marathon, that's for sure. And we're not going to win it this year or next year, but we're getting closer. I love every bit of that. We're both wrapping this podcast up soon to go to sporting events tonight for our kids, both of us. So just put in perspective of our life these days. I have two more things for you. I have a rapid fire question sequence, and I want to hear about Rome Hunt.
Yes.
I saw that pop up on Instagram. I'm like, I know that dude. What's going on there?
Which one do you want first? The Rome Hunt or
Rome Hunt, and then I'll wrap up with rapid fire. All
right, Rome Hunt. That is something that, like, doing podcasting, all of us mission guys, we all kind of click together. We're like-minded. It's really easy to be friends, right? Because we have a lot of interest, and everyone's been great to me. And the whole thing, like any Michigan guy that runs a podcast I've talked to, thank you for all the help and, being stand-up guys and all that stuff. Well, developed a relationship with Adam Miller and from Bowhunter Chronicles, and like Joe Davis from Generations of Hunt, and these guys. And we all kind of like bounce ideas off each other. And one day, I think I did a podcast with Adam in person at his place, and we got done. I was like, dude, I feel like there's an opportunity. Like, I want to do some more filming and I want to do some YouTube stuff, but like, there's no way I can do my day job, do a podcast, and do that, which kind of sucks. I've been carrying a camera on me for years off and on, like trying to like do it, but I was just like, I'm kind of like, and he kind of same, like he's got years. He's always had a camera too. And that kind of like, he kind of was thinking the same thing. And we're like, why don't we just like collab? Like, why don't we just create something and get some guys involved that we know that we're already friends and try to make something happen. So that was kind of the springboard for Rome. And, it's Rome Hunt on Instagram, and I think it's Rome Syndicate maybe on YouTube. We kind of had to, we did some research, but we maybe didn't do quite enough of it. So you're trying to like get names. We're just starting. So who knows what that'll morph into, but essentially there's a core group of 5 of us, me, Adam, Joe, Jake, and Brad. And we're just like, Joe's pretty good with like editing and stuff. And he's kind of like our marketing guy, even though he doesn't want to admit it. So we knew that he had the skill set to kind of like help us. And then you got me and Adam, who love, talking to people and networking. And like, we got maybe the little bit more of a flexible time. So we can, Adam works like, he only works like 20 hours a month, I swear. So we got that going, and so we got that rolling. So we're kind of like, hey, we want to not be pigeonholed into anything. So small game hunting, fishing, tack, shooting bows, shooting guns, just doing all sorts of stuff. Them guys all drew for Kansas. So there's going to be a group of guys, filming Kansas and just trying to just kind of show another side of all of us guys and have that kind of media. And I do think like I want to get better with a camera. So like this is something that I feel like is like there's a lot of opportunity out there for guys who know how to run a camera and know how to edit and stuff. And I'm like, hey, why not learn another skill set that I can, fall back to for, anything and enjoy it. So that's kind of what it is. I think there's been a couple videos on there. I mean, I shot a rabbit with my pistol this winter, so I got a little video on YouTube about that. But yeah, it's been a riot. We actually had a meeting this week too that we were all talking about what we're planning tack. We're all gonna be shooting tack at Boyne. So it's gonna be a good time. But yeah, that's been another little side hustle, kind of starting to try to build up over there.
Very cool. Very cool. I urge everybody on here to check that out. Instagram, YouTube. That's pretty awesome. I think I know all you guys. Jake, who's Jake? What's Jake's last name?
Jake Bergheis. So the hippie.
Oh yeah, Bergie. Yeah. Okay, I know all you guys.
The mustache / tie dye killer.
Brad's hilarious too, man. Oh my goodness, that guy cracks me up.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys have a good group of guys here. I'm sure that'll be great. Last but not least, hit you with my rapid fire. I'm just gonna roll with it here. Number 1, your favorite beverage. Go.
Favorite beverage would be Diet Mountain Dew, non-alcoholic, and then gosh, it's going to be close between a Busch Light or a Captain and Diet Coke for alcohol.
Awesome. Favorite venison or wild game recipe? I know you shoot a lot of rabbits too.
Yeah, I think wild game wise, shoot, man, if I don't, this is a typical, steak or back strapping like that.
Yeah.
I've been smoking full front shoulders and doing like a shredded venison with that. Real good. Yeah, smoke it for like, 2 hours in the smoker, put it in a pan, dump a beer in there, whatever kind of concoction you want to have. Finish it out in there with a lid on it, kind of get a little smoked, and then shred it. And I'm a big sandwich, cheese, and meat kind of guy, so I love it. That was really good. I actually I shot a few. You got to be a little selective, you got to kind of pick maybe those little smaller petite does to shoot because the shoulders fit in vacuum seal bags a little better. But yeah, I find myself shooting a couple of those, and yeah, that's for my basic cooking skills, and I'm pretty basic with my diet or my preferences. I'm pretty picky eater. I really like doing the shredded front shoulder.
Okay, what sauce do you put on that sandwich? Any condiments?
Yeah, so like I love Sweet Baby Ray's. Like I'm a sucker just for Sweet Baby Ray's, really good. But if it when it's smoked right, I don't really need to put any barbecue sauce on it. I like doing like a dry rub on there. If it's not overly smoky, I don't like something that's like, oh, I'm eating jerky. Like I just that's why I only smoke it for like half the time and then finish it without much smoke. But yeah, Sweet Baby Ray's is my go-to for barbecue sauce.
It's probably the best barbecue sauce. And I know there's better stuff out there, but like for a mainstream one you can get anywhere, you can't beat that stuff.
And it goes with everything. You throw it on your brat, throw it on a burger, throw it on chicken wings, throw it on venison, throw it on pork. It doesn't matter. It just goes with everything. So I love it.
Somebody out there is going to complain about that, I bet, and have a better one. I want to hear what the better one is. Let's see. Food, water, or cover? What's most important to you? You had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, would be for me. Like if I think of all the deer I've shot and where I've shot them and why I'm sitting where I'm sitting, it's based on cover, which I think is like a pretty easy thing to say. But I think depending on your situation, like if I'm even out of state, what am I always like looking for? Like cover. Like I'm always looking for that cover, and it could be different cover, right? Like I want something different. I don't want everything the same. I want to be, I guess, diverse cover. That'll be my thing.
Oh, he's been paying attention, ladies and gentlemen. That's awesome. Let's see. Are you more of a latitude saddle guy, tree stand guy, blind guy? What do you like to do?
So if there's a gun in my hand, I'm sitting in a blind pretty much all the time, just because private land hunter can put stuff where I want it. Can hunt with a rifle up north, and now with straight wall cartridge. Like used to be when I had to hunt with a muzzleloader, I'd find myself hunting out of trees more, or a little bit of ground and pound, closer. But now you can shoot 200 yards real accurately with these straight walls. I've kind of in a blind, right, and that could be a pop-up blind that I set up, and brush in because the farmer took a field off, in December, and it's like, hey, bring a pop-up blind out there, and I make that bugger look just like a big cornstalk. I've had success with that. But yeah, saddle hunting has been, 2018, I think, or 19, I bought a saddle for the first time, and I've pretty much hunted. If I have a bow in my hand, there's a really good chance I'm hunting out of that saddle. Don't get me wrong, I got a really nice lightweight hang-on tree stand, the Beast setup I have. Yep. Love that too. I bring that with me every time I go out of state. I have both. In Kansas, I had a tree that just made sense to hang that stand, and I had it there the whole time I was there, and I hunted it 2 or 3 times, and But I would say if I had to pick one, I'm picking the saddle.
Okay. If you could buy any tool or implement, what would be your favorite Habitat tool or implement?
Dude, when I can buy a Kubota tractor, oh my gosh, I'd be so happy. But
Yeah.
the thing is, it's got to be big enough because I want the right
I know.
attachments for it. So like it's like one of those things where, like, do I go skid loader or do I go tractor? Because I want like grapple, I want like maneuverability, I want to be able to put a mulcher on it, or all those things. So like being in construction, I've been around a lot of skid loaders and like those kind of equipment. Like even like a mini forklift, I think could actually do some pretty good stuff. So I think like that kind of a thing would be like something that I'm like dream about. It's like, yeah, give me some sort of equipment that I can go do some of this stuff. And I think that's just like the little kid in me that wants that.
Well, I don't think you're wrong, man. I have a Kubota. It's a 40 horse and it's not quite big enough. It's good enough for me, but the guy I had out there today had a skid loader.
Yep.
So like that's why I'm calling him. So
yeah, and you can throw the rotor tiller like that's like that.
Sure.
The first year I did those bigger plots with the carbon load in that wheat field, my dad's got like a Hummerbee, it's called. It's a little articulating loader that's got like a little mini extension on it for doing round bales and hobby farm work. And it uses skid loader attachments. Dude, the roller tiller for that thing is bad to the bone. And it goes fast enough that like we've color packed with it. We've used it for all that stuff. It's, I can throw it on a trailer really easy. I mean, any skid loader attachment works. And it's like, man, dude, like I always go back and forth because like that's handy to have that ability to do those things. And grapple on the front, easy. It's got it can pick up quite a bit of weight. So, tractors are cool, but like if you want to really use that loader, you got to really jump up in size. So it's like skid loaders are cool too.
Yes, they are. Great answer.
Cab, wouldn't that be nice? Like put a snowblower around there in the wintertime, use it, selfishly. I'm not shoveling snow no more. Like, yeah, it goes. I guess if you can't tell, I like really try to like have stuff that's multi-use. Like I can use this and try to kill two birds with one stone as often as I can.
I love it, man. Last but not least, your favorite tree. Could be for habitat, could be to hunt out of, could be something you like driving down the road, seeing in somebody's front yard.
Dude, I'm in apple country, man. So like seeing a bunch of apple trees blossoming and that kind of thing, I'm kind of a sucker for that from like a visual perspective. But when I see if I see cedar-esque trees, like that gets me excited for hunting. Like just something about like you got those, you've seen those videos as a kid with these big bucks going through like a cedar thicket. I've hunted Iowa that's had them. I've hunted Kansas, Illinois, and man, every time I find cedars, I just find big bucks. And I'm sure it's because it's not a monoculture of cedars. Like I'm finding the cedar pockets. Really like that. But then like if I were to bring that to Michigan, that'd be like a balsam tree. Like my first few years of bow hunting was all out of balsam trees. Had a lot of them, preset stands in them. You cut your little cubby out of there, 12 foot off the ground, and you're just smoking deer, short. So I'm kind of a sucker for those trees. Just, do I hunt in them anymore? Nope, because it sucks to get into if you're doing a hanging hunt, but I like being close by to them. Yeah, like last year, I almost shot a really nice buck. I found the first aspen or whatever right next to a balsam tree, got up, and that buck was just working through, and I just couldn't quite get a shot on him quick enough. But yeah, I always find myself hunting wise close to those type of trees.
Love it, buddy. Love it. Well, I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much. Going to be a great episode for the listenership here. Do us a favor and plug anything you got and where people can find you and follow along.
Yeah, man. So Michigan Wild is my podcast that I do. I think I'm going to be around 110 episodes, I think. I always forget what number I'm at. Actually 109, I think, is my next episode. So yeah, I've been doing it for, July will be 2 years. It's been a freaking blast. Instagram, Michigan Wild Pod. You can follow me on there. This podcast won't come out quick enough, but I am a Vitalized dealer now. So if you're in the greater Grand Rapids area and you want, selfish plug here, if you want some Vitalized seed and you want to meet my pretty face, I drive all over. My truck's got 102,000 miles on it. It's just over 2 years old. So hit me up. We can maybe meet. I can give you the little bit of experience that I have. But let me tell you what, like if you're interested in Vitalized seed, I'm going to do a plug for you because I don't think you do this enough for that, your guys' product. But dude, the stuff is great. It works in a wide variety of things. I've used it all over the state. I've used it in crappy soil, good soil. I have had really good luck with it. And Jared and Al are both super committed to helping you out. Any questions you may have. Al is great on social media. He gets back to people. Your guys' shipping is quick if you do go that route. But hit me up if you have for that. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much, that's all my selfish plugs I'm going to do for it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, when I launch this, it'll still be time for folks to get vitalized in the ground. So
Perfect.
if you're interested, I would definitely reach out to Nate. Like I say about all of our dealers, that's going to be your cheapest price.
Yeah.
So, and you get to meet a guy who's a local resource in the area, and a good friend of mine. So I appreciate you, Nate. Thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah, dude. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Habitat Podcast. We really do appreciate you guys coming back every week to get this awesome Habitat content. And we would appreciate it if you went to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. That helps us continue to grow and trend in the right direction, attract new listeners, and help us provide better content in the future. Guys, we have a website full of resources. We have a blog on the website. We have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all linked up at habitatpodcast.com. Our land plan services, merchandise, decals, hats, t-shirts, and I give away a free 5-inch decal to anyone who leaves us a review on Apple iTunes. Really appreciate it. I want to thank our partners, Downburst Cedars, Vitalize Seed Company, Morse Nursery, Packer Max Cultipackers, Stealth Outdoors, First Light Latitude Outdoors, United Country Midwest Lifestyle Properties, and Exodus Outdoor Gear. Thanks again, guys. We'll be back next week with another great episode of the Habitat Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.